And they'll all rise and begin to take into their hands the future of China for the next 10 years, which has profound implications for us. And then on the economic side, we're going to see more and more of the 5-year plan, which was enshrined last March, which is to evolve more to a consumption society. Less investment-led growth or export-led growth. Why? Because the math doesn't work anymore in China. Getting right to your point on labor, there's an upside-down pyramid. You have 4 grandparents, 2 parents, 1 child. How does one child cover all the costs for the other generations? It just doesn't work when you extrapolate out the numbers. When there's no real retirement, healthcare is incomplete. The iron rice bowl no longer exists. And so you look at the numbers and you say, why are labor rates going up? Well, as my daughter would say, duh. There are more people leaving the labor force than there are people going into the labor force. China's becoming an older country. They have more seniors in their country now than we have people in our entire country. And by 2050, the population will go down, probably from 1.3, 1.4 billion, maybe 1.3, 1.2.5 billion. And rates are going to go up because labor will be in shorter supply. And China will merge into more of a quality-based manufacturer, not just a manufacturer of anything, but more quality, more services, financial service, travel, tourism, healthcare. You'll see a lot more of that begin to spring up over the next 5 years or so. And managing this transition is really tricky because it's uncertain. And it's going to carry with it prospects for inflation, prospects for export companies going out of business, prospects for more people moving from the rural areas into the city areas. So here's what Wen Jiabao, the premier of the country, said to President Obama when we were in a meeting. There were a small group of it. I'd been there as ambassador for a few months. And it was President Obama's first trip to China. He had been. It was the very first trip ever, but certainly the president. And the President Obama was going on about the problems of America, economic problems, infrastructure problems, this, that, and the other. And Wen Jiabao said, wait a minute, how'd you like to have this for a problem? How'd you like to have 800 million farmers in your country and only have a need for 200 million farmers? You see, I have 600 million redundant farmers on my hand, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with it. It puts it in perspective, the sheer numbers that we're looking at in China. It's mind-numbing sometimes. Unemployment here. So if we can just put, a few tens of millions of people back to work, we get stable employment. China's got to worry about hundreds of millions of people. And therefore, you wonder why the stimulus package of 2008, $600–700 billion, the targeted stimulus that continues to this time, targeted more on domestic and durable good purchases. It's to keep the economy buoyant this year, because you can't hand off government to the next generation with a flat economy. It's got to look good, right? And then we're going to go into next year, and guess what? All the investments from the last few years in roads to nowhere and productivity buildup is going to have to be accounted for at some point. And I think we're going to find inventories that are grossly out of balance. I think we're going to find a lot of warehouses that are chock full of products, and a lot of loans that are unpayable, both with traditional banks and with the so-called underground banks. And I think we're going to have a real reckoning next year about what to do about those balances that could become non-performing loans, what to do about those warehouses full of product, with a world economy that isn't buying anymore. And that will be China's challenge going into next year. Recession, no. Challenges, sure.
Unfortunately, we're out of time, but I thought you were going to ask Rachel what stocks should we buy or short. Recession in the next year. Governor, Ambassador, one last question, even though you're out of time. What's next for you? Are we going to see you in 2016?
First of all, let me tell you, and let's just be honest, you've got to be a little crazy to run for president. But you got to be really crazy to do it twice. But I'm not sure I did that. That's all. So, anyway, great being with you.
Thank you.
That's a way of punching out.
Thank you. Big hand.